Welcome back to my animal education series. So today I thought I'd do something a little bit different. Recently my dad joined me down in Florida, so he got the moving truck down here yesterday, and I went ahead and unloaded all the animal cages. Of course I forgot to get the tote with the water bowls in it, so I'll get those out of the truck later today or tomorrow, but not in time for this video. So here we have one of my 40-gallon tanks. I'm going to be putting one of my box turtles in there, and I'm going to quickly show you guys just how we set up some of these enclosures. I am outside, so it's going to be a little bit louder. And since it's lovely Florida, there's a afternoon thunderstorm rolling in, so we're going to try to get it done before that. I would have done this inside, it would have been quieter, and we don't have to deal with a big thunderstorm. But there's not a whole lot of space to do that, because there's a bunch of boxes everywhere, and there's not a whole lot of space, so we don't want to worry about that. And we're outside, it's natural, and the weather's not terrible. So here we are. So again, as I mentioned, this is a 40-gallon tank from one of my box turtles, and we went out and got a bunch of stuff for these cages. I got some organic topsoil, which is already mixed with sand and peat moss. I got this at Home Depot, probably for like a couple bucks. It wasn't that bad. We have some palmetto bushes that we dug up. We got some palmetto fronds that we got out of some like neighbors' yards and things like that, because they didn't want them, so we just trimmed them up and took them with us. We got a bunch of this green moss that we got off of, again, fellow neighbors' lawns and like tree roots and stuff like that, where it grows in the shade. We got pine cones, we got magnolia leaves, we got various bark. We got this sponge kind of moss that was in a nearby park, so we thought that was pretty cool, so we just took a little bit of it. And then we got some pothos and some ferns from Home Depot. The other turtle will be getting the fern. I got the pothos for those. Again, a little palmetto bush, more bark, and we have the same plastic hide that was in the last time. It doesn't look that natural, but as these turtles begin to grow, there's not a whole lot of natural things that we can use that they actually fit in. So that little organizer shelf is the best we got for this. And if you know box turtles, they get pretty big. This is not a permanent setup for these box turtles, but they're not big enough to be uncomfortable in this yet. So as they get older, we'll figure out what to do with them then. Because obviously a 40-gallon is not going to be good forever. But without any further ado, I've been talking for way too long. Let's get started on the setup. To start off, the most important thing, at least to me, is making sure that these animals have a hide. So I'm going to be putting this in the back corner here. I'm going to use this as the front of the tank. And it really doesn't matter because the lid has a direction on it, but the turtles can't really climb this high. They don't need a lid anyway. I have this little palmetto bush. Sorry for the trucks in the background. They are making a new park. So they're just kind of clearing out some trees back there. So I'm going to put that back there and put the hide. I'm going to take this big bag of dirt. I wish they weren't doing construction on a Monday, but whatever. I'm going to dump this entire bag in because these turtles like to dig, so I want to give them as much dirt as possible. And just kind of push it around, make sure the hide stays secure, put it behind the hide for the bush. I don't need it as deep right here because this is where the water bowl is going to be once I get that out of the truck, because I didn't think ahead too much on that one. Let's pick up some of it, throw it back here for the bush. I don't need too much dirt back there, but I just want to make sure it's a nice even layer. The turtle, as they walk around and dig, they're going to change this all up, so this step really isn't that important. But I want to make sure there's some dirt in the bottom of the hide, because I just set it straight on the glass and I want them to be kind of comfortable under there. But I also will put moss and some leaves and other items back there. Make sure that plant is tucked in. These box turtles are pretty destructive, so I want to make sure that they don't get to the bottom of that plant and completely ruin it. Next up is this pot of pothos. As I mentioned before, these turtles are pretty destructive, so I'm going to leave it in the pot. And there's holes underneath, so as this plant grows, they can spread its roots out under it. But this will keep the turtle from absolutely destroying this plant. It might still happen, but this at least pushes it back on the timeline. Also clear out this area for the water bowl so I can save some dirt back here. And then also realizing that I'm going to immediately use all of it to make sure that this pot stays in place. Kind of put some open over the pot so the plant kind of gets some of this dirt, but it's really not too important. Next up, we're just going to go ahead and decorate. I wish I had the water bowl to actually make it look complete, but we don't. Luckily in Florida, we have tons and tons and tons of magnolia leaves. So I just put these all up in here. All of the isopods and springtails, they'll be under here because it gives them a nice place to hide, and the turtles aren't going to destroy that as much. I have some of this, I'm talking behind the tank, sorry. I have some of this moss here and some just random pine needles. This stuff's super common because a lot of people down in Florida use this in their flower beds. So at our house, we moved in and it already had some, so I was able to make sure the previous owner didn't use any pesticides or anything, and then I snagged some out of the flower bed. Put some of this moss here. I have a lot more of this, so I could put more around the water bowl. Just tuck it in here, just add some variety up here. Lastly, I'm actually gonna move this piece here. I'm gonna put this bark here, so maybe as the turtle is trying to walk up here, he doesn't go out and completely dig all of that out. And I'm gonna take this and just kind of tuck it under there, being a nice damp spot, and just take this random piece of bark that I had to break off of it to fit, and just throw it wherever else. It makes it look more natural. So that's about it that I'm going to do for this tank. So as these turtles are growing, they're going to take up a lot more of the space as themselves. So I don't need to do as much to fill the space because they're going to do that on their own. Actually, since I'm here, this nearby tree is shedding some of its bark. So just throw some of that in there, helps add to the natural look of it. And again, the previous owner or I, we don't use pesticides or herbicides or anything like that. So all these trees are safe and they're all safe to use in here. So now we're going to get started on the second box turtle setup. First off, we're going to start with the same plastic hide that we have for the last one. I want to put another palmetto bush behind it. I'm not quite sure if it's actually a bush, but that's what I'm going to call it. And we're going to put the pothos on this side of the enclosure this time to add plenty of coverage. And then we're going to dump in a bunch of dirt. We're going to start off with about half a bag. See how that goes. Same thing with the last tank. We don't have water bowls for this yet, so I'm not going to be too concerned with that right now. Just pass this out everywhere, back in the turtle hide. And we want to put a bunch back behind here to prevent the turtle from getting back there and pushing the hides forward. Their answer is definitely more. Because the less packed it is, the easier it is for the turtle to dig there. I'm gonna get a little bit more dirt. We found this nifty branch in the corner of my yard, so we're gonna incorporate this. Probably put it, oh, sorry. I don't know if I'm apologizing to, I hit the tank. I'm gonna put that there to help prevent the turtle from climbing in there. Put some of this, kind of tuck it in there. Where we found this, that was in a lot of shade, so I want to put it somewhere where it's mostly shaded. Mostly back underneath this plant. If it grows, that's cool, and if it doesn't, I didn't spend any money on it, so it's not that big of a deal to me. We got more of this bark that fell off of the tree, or this tree specifically. So pass it out in here. Break it up. I have some more leaves and some pine needles. Spread that out in here. Again, the water bowl's got to help take up a lot of space in here. And I'm going to spice it up a little bit. Nope, that is not what I wanted. I want this. Put a palm frond in here. There's some more color for the isopods. And just add something else to the enclosure so it doesn't look so plain right there in the middle. I just dug around in my bucket of wonders and I got a bunch of this green moss. I'm going to tuck that in there. Also, what this is going to do is help hold water and hopefully help these plants grow a little bit better. You know, really pack it in there and it will establish itself. Tuck that in there. Tuck this in here. Break this apart back there and right there. Add some more color and a whole lot more contrast to this part of the enclosure. Now we're going to go get the turtle and introduce them into this enclosure. Man, it seems like everyone is out and about today. But again, we're going to get the turtle, introduce them into this tank, and then we're going to end off the video there, and then I can get to start working on all of the other enclosures I have to work. This is Yertle the turtle, named after a Dr. Seuss book that my dad would always read to us. But this gal was from a family friend, and the turtle was getting a bit larger. They didn't have the space for it anymore, so we were glad to take her in. So as you can see, she's big, so she's not going to be in this tank for too much longer. But for the time being, we're going to put her in here. Also off camera, I went ahead and I gathered some sand and I spread this out throughout the enclosure, because since I am in Florida and these are Florida turtles now, just kind of mix it into the natural dirt and landscape that's already in the area. So that is going to be it for this week's video. Thanks you guys so much for watching me set up my turtle enclosures. I love setting up enclosures and thinking about how I'm going to set them up. Obviously, turtle enclosures specifically aren't the most complex things ever, because you can't go too crazy because these turtles they're bigger and they are very destructive, but it's super cool to me nonetheless. So again, thank you guys so much for watching this week's video. Don't forget to leave a big thumbs up down below, subscribe to my channel, and as always, I will see you next week.